Let's start by talking about who Dr. Ibrahim Samira is. He grew up in Chicago, and he, along with his brothers, would play outside and go to school, and they had a really wonderful time growing up in Chicago, which unfortunately changed when they took a family trip to Jordan to visit their grandmother. And when they were in Jordan visiting their grandmother who was sick, they weren't allowed to come back. His father was stopped at the border and denied re-entry. They didn't want to split their family up, so they decided that they would fight this legally. We at the McLean Islamic Center know a little bit about fighting battles legally. When something is wrong, but we want to fix it, there's a couple different ways that we can do that. And the right way to do it is to have a legal battle. And that's exactly what they did. And it took 11 years for them to fight it legally. But alhamdulillah, at the end of over a decade of going back and forth with the US government, allowing his father to come back in, they won, and their entire family was reunited back here in the US. He went to school at a number of different universities, which ultimately ended with Boston University, where he enrolled for dental school. And after that, he became a licensed dentist. He moved to Virginia and was inspired to run for office, which he's going to tell you guys about in just a little bit. And he won that. It made him the youngest legislator currently in office in Virginia. He won his first election handedly, and then he won for re-election. He ran for re-election recently and won that too. Alhamdulillah. So he is serving very close to where we are at MIC. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Samira.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Sunday. I know we're all self-isolating and staying safe, and hopefully that we're taking that all in positively, and this is one of those moments that I think we're going to try to make use of, inshallah. My name is Dr. Ibrahim Samira. Samirah also is fine. I don't mind it at all. I am a dentist, as I was saying. As brother Sultan Chaudhry, Dr. Sultan Chaudhry was just talking about, and I'm going today hopefully to try to relate to you as much as possible. Here's a little pictures from when I was around 7th grade. I tried to pull them out of my my pictures from a while ago. You can see they're all printed. We don't have many digital pictures back then. I guess that's a foreign thing today. But like I was saying, I want to talk to you all today about my journey and how it was inspired by our faith as Muslims. There's a little typo there. Sorry about that, guys. Our faith asks us, of course, to help everyone as much as possible. And my message to you is we can be successful people on earth and also go to Jannah by committing to helping everybody as much as possible. And I want to talk about what all of this means to us. And inshallah, after I have this conversation with you all about it, we'll open up for some questions. And if you guys hold tight till the end, I'll talk about all the conversations that are being had with our governor and our state leadership about COVID-19, and I can give a little bit of insight also about the presidential elections as well. So, but I do want to make sure that we're talking about the things that we could be doing and thinking about with all the free time we have right now, because we're all self-isolating, because we're all social distancing and trying to keep everybody, including ourselves, as safe as possible from COVID-19. So I think the best question is to ask ourselves, as Muslims, first and foremost, what does it mean to be successful? The reason why I bring up this question in particular is because I think when I was growing up, I had to think about this question a lot because of all the difficulties that I was facing in my own life. First and foremost, for being Muslim, for being part of a family that really dedicated themselves to community service, and as a result, were seen by people that don't like Muslims as a big problem, and were targeted. Like my father, who was just somebody who was registering Muslim Americans to vote in the state of Illinois. That was his whole job. And how that ended up causing him to be denied re-entry into the United States. And how overall, all sorts of discriminations against Muslims started up after 9/11, and not just against somebody like my own father, but against a lot of other Muslims. And so it's made us think about a lot about how, as Muslims at large, we can be successful so that we don't have to deal with those kind of prejudices and those kind of discriminations and this hateful thinking that is not good for anybody. And so first, it's all about how we feel and how much we can do good and feel good about what we're doing. How can we do that? Well, we have to be able to be as powerful in ourselves as possible. And Islam teaches us to use specifically what God gave us for that purpose, to help and to do good and to feel good as much as possible by using our mind, body, and soul and as best of a way possible to service others. And that always starts with those closest. So, our religion always teaches us to be as caring about our family, about our parents, about our siblings. And then if you have more ability to care for people, then you branch out from just your own family into your extended family, and then your neighbors and people around you. And depending on how much ability God has given you, you use that mind, body, and soul of yours to influence as many good people's lives as possible. But it all starts with your ability yourself, first and foremost. So if we're constantly working on how we use our mind, body, and soul, and strive for perfection, which is also part of the teachings of our religion, also part of the teachings of Islam, then we will find lots of success both now and in the hereafter, inshallah, by making it to Jannah. And being as close as possible to our Prophet, who is the person who taught us all these ways of perfecting the mind, body, and soul. And so that leads us to the second part of what is success. It's knowledge, because at the end of the day, if you don't know what is going to make your ability to use your mind, body, and soul as powerful as possible to help others, to influence people's lives, to make ourselves successful as Muslims through being Muslims here on earth and hereafter, of course, then it's all about gaining that information that makes us focused, makes us able to help on all these different levels of help that are out there. And that is also, of course, a segue into also just what is the way to gain knowledge as well. And if we're thinking about what it is to gain knowledge, then I think we can look at our own faith in this case as well. We can go back to the Quran. The first word, I want to ask this, and maybe you guys can type it in. For people that already know this and older folks that are listening in, I don't want you guys answering this question. Let's leave it to the kids, hopefully. What's the first word in the Quran? Type it in. Wait, let me find the chat.
Okay, we got some responses coming in.
We got some responses?
Yeah, they're all the same.
They're all the same? Oh, come on. That was too easy of a question, I guess, for the kids.
Yeah.
Well, we all know it. It's Iqra. It's read. And that is the most powerful way to gain knowledge. And it's the first word in the Quran for a good reason. And that is how we can learn how to perfect our mind, body, and soul. Of course, reading the Quran is one way, but also taking what the Quran tells us is the way to perfect our mind, body, and soul, and learning through other resources out there how to do it is really important. So what comes to mind when you think about how you develop your mind? Well, going to school and getting really good grades and making sure that you're learning from the mistakes of the past, of others around you, but also learning what success stories there are in your life, in your family's lives, and what's around you. All that combined with pursuing a formal education, right? One way to go about it is universities, but one other less thought of way is if you're not necessarily good at some of the subjects that are taught at school, there's other forms of intelligence out there. There's technical intelligence where you can learn how to use things that need to be used that are sophisticated to make big things happen for people, like building their homes or fixing specific complicated equipment. There's so many different things out there that are technical as well in nature that you could go to technical school for, but as well as university, the formal university, getting a formal degree and going down the pathway. And I think that's most popular in a lot of Muslim people's lives is becoming a doctor or becoming an engineer or becoming a lawyer and all these different high education specialties. But that's just one path. How do you perfect your body? That's something that also is of our teachings in Islam, to perfect our body. Well, you need to stay healthy. You need to not take in bad substances into your body. You need to make sure you're eating well. You need to make sure you're exercising. Is in using whatever God has given you. Sometimes people don't have the best bodies, and we just have to simply do our best to use what God has given us in our body. But that's a duty of ours to make sure that we're healthy. And how do we make our soul as powerful as possible to be able to help others, to be inspired? That is certainly something that a lot of us think about, and it's how we can how we can do that best is to pray, to follow our core tenets in Islam. We have 5 major ones we try to strive for keeping our faith, and then there's 6 for keeping our iman, for keeping our faith more specifically, those are tenets that we could be using to nurture our soul. But of the most obvious and the most consistent one that we have to perform every single day is making sure to pray every day, 5 times a day, keeping up with our specific basic necessities every day that relate to praying. And these are the things that put you in the habit of perfecting your soul, but also it is intertwined with perfecting your body, and you're perfecting your mind. And so do all the others. Your mind and body also, in perfecting them, you're more capable of perfecting your soul. So this is how our faith teaches us to become so into ourselves in a positive way to help others as an intent. And so that moves us to what do you do with all this capability now that your body, your mind, your soul is as perfect as you could be? You follow the sunnah of the Prophet, which is to try to strive to perfection as much as possible. Now you've gained as much as possible from this specific process, but you need to also now do the good deed, and that's not separate from knowledge. It's all intertwined, and it's not separate from using your mind, body, and soul. If you intertwine all these 3 things together, then you are able to most impactfully help others. Let's talk about that. So you need to gain knowledge to be able to learn about what bad things are happening in the world, or what good things are happening in the world, and where people's needs are. That requires constant intuition and thinking about how people's lives are right this very moment. Are they good? Are they bad? Is a very important question to ask, and especially when you're trying to stick to what we were talking about earlier, the cores, right? How do you help your family? How do you help your neighbors? How do you help your extended family? How do you help if you're capable? Of course, helping even more people outside of that. And that's where knowledge about people's lives and what causes people's lives to be in a certain way comes into play. So now I'm going to ask another set of questions. What's the second action word sent to us in the Quran from God? What was the second one that was written as an act after Iqra? After read. Type it in.
While they're writing it in, Ibrahim, are you making the annotations on your screen?
No, I'm not sure
Okay.
who's doing that. I thought that
Do
was
me a
you.
favor. There is a set of buttons on your screen
Yes.
that's more.
Yeah.
Click on that, and then you want to click on Disable Participants Annotation.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes people will accidentally put marks on the screens. So you
Okay.
should see that as a more feature.
Okay.
Disable Participants Annotations. Do you see that?
Yes, I did that already.
Okay, good. So now I don't think that should be an issue now. All right, so no answers to this question.
Wow. I thought this one was easy too, guys.
Oh, no. So, no, sorry. We have a few people are saying it's Ikra.
No, second.
Someone's saying it's to pray.
No.
Someone's saying it's the first part of Bismillah. Someone is saying it's Halaq.
No, second action. So first action that God asked us to do was read, right? And it just also happened to be the first word, but I'm specifically focusing on the act. So I'm going to give it another like 30 seconds. What was the second action that God asked us to do after reading? No, it's not khuluq, not manners. Learn is read. I mean, it's not learn though, and actually though, and on a literal basis. Okay, we're gonna break it. It's act. A'milu. It's to do, to act. So that's the sequence of orders. Read, i.e. gain knowledge. Why? Because you want to be able to be as prepared as a human as possible. What are the avenues of preparation that God gave us as humans? God gave us our minds and our bodies and our souls. And God asks us, after you are able to gain that knowledge, the many ways that we've been talking about, to now use it to act in good faith. And that's where all the different things that our religion talks about with relation to actions comes into play. All those different rules that we abide by, but also the different recommendations or sunnahs that have been laid out to us as the actions of our best example of Muslims, our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So and that leads us to sort of what exactly are these actions, right? We were talking about learning about the most impactful issues that people have on their lives, so that we can act in as meaningful a way and as powerful a way with the knowledge that is out there. But it's also very closely intertwined with what the Prophet did physically, mentally, and spiritually as well. And that is to help others in need. He was helping his neighbor who is Jewish, who is putting all the garbage in front of his house, and still, Prophet didn't take that personally, and he said, I'm going to help him. And when his was he visited him and took care of him and helped him, and same stories goes for obviously what the Prophet did for Muslims as well, and even disbelievers, people that didn't believe in God, period, or believed in idols, how much good that he was trying to do for them as well, all throughout the time that the Prophet was carrying his message, and that was the cornerstone of his actions, is to help others. It was a presentation of his manners. It was a presentation of his standards, of the akhlaq that was mentioned earlier. Because the best way to present your khuluq is by acting. And so, why do I say all of this? Because that is, again, to bring it all together. This is what I see myself trying to do with my own self. That's how I got to the point where I decided to run for office. That's how I decided to help people in the way that I'm helping. because I focused on the things that make me strong in my own self, and the things that I know and the things that I'm passionate about, and I learned about them as much as possible. You know, when you're growing up in a world where you're facing so much difficulties because of government, you start thinking about, what can I do to make government better, so that I'm not just the one that's hurt. I don't get hurt and nobody else gets hurt. Excuse me. How can I use that form of government out there that I most strongly associate with? We as Americans have, if the most powerful government in the world, the U.S. government, on all its levels, in all its different forms. It's a very powerful form of government, and it has a lot of ability to do good for the world. And I certainly had to learn that. I had to learn that states, state governments like the one I'm in, have budgets in the billions of dollars. In the case of Virginia, it's $65 billion each year that is collected from people's taxes, your parents' money, your grandparents' money, your family's money, your money too, for that matter. And if we understand that that this is the reality altogether, then we become much more participatory in government as a result, because that is how we can influence people's lives in the best way possible. Now, there's different degrees of participation in the public to influence government in a very positive way. That was how I saw it, at least. And it led me to thinking of being on the table where the decision-making process is happening. And I thought to myself, how do I do that? In undergrad, I studied political science. So I tried to gain as much knowledge as possible on how politics works. And that's something that most people don't necessarily think about when they go get a political science degree, or are thinking about getting a political science degree, to be specific, excuse me. And so they largely kind of miss the point of what political science is. It's mostly thought about in terms of strictly employment. How is it going to get you a job? But it shouldn't just be thought about how it's going to get you a job as a degree, but it should be thinking about how it helps other people's lives. And so that's how I interpreted things. And I also came to the conclusion that I think many of us come to, is that when you're in politics, there's not that much also direct ability to helping people. The ability to help is through a lot of discussions that take many years to change, but have a significant impact on people's lives nonetheless. But it starts from a lot of discussions that take many, many years, that eventually it trickles down to everyday people's lives and ends up helping them. So that led me to think about, what other avenues do I have to help as well? And so in my professional life, I decided to learn how to be a dentist. That was one of my big passions. I saw a lot of good examples of dentists in our community, like Dr. Sultan Chaudhry, who's with us. And you guys all know what the Chaudhrys doctors have done for the community in Northern Virginia overall. But that also stems from a good profession, and just like a lot of our parents as well, are in places where that are stable. We need them to be stable so that they can help, so that we can help ourselves and help others as well. And so that requires a good profession, one that helps others. For me, sticking to sort of using my body in this case to help others as much as possible. I thought my skills were very directed into the world of medicine. I was really good with sciences in school, and I got really high grades and the biological sciences and physics and chemistry. And those were things that would lead you to be able to be a dentist in this case for me. And so that's where I went with. But other people have different ways of using their body. We were talking about, again, technical school earlier. That's not a bad pathway. Some people want to use their body more closely aligned with sitting in universities and getting a lot of high degrees and becoming PhDs so that they can teach in specific fields. Some people use their bodies and specifically in more focus on the mind part, which is also obviously intertwined there in a different way. But to make sure that they get law degrees, which takes a long time to study, and same thing with doctor degrees, etc. And so I can go on and on with these kind of examples. But you know, the point is here is I was doing my best to use what I had, and of course I was keeping with my faith. It's what inspired me to keep working hard, just as you guys can feel from all this video talk that we're having right now. I'm very passionate about it from the place of being a Muslim, because it feels good to be Muslim for me, and I hope it does for you too as well. And I think that one of the most powerful ways is to do that is the perfection of these forces that God gave you, your mind, body, and soul, to do good. And so this is the pathway that led me to dentistry, to becoming a doctor, to working as a doctor, but also then, you know, trying to intertwine it all together as well with all the experiences that I had with government, and also my learning from political science degree, and it led me to have this perfect opportunity to run for office as a result of all this knowledge. And alhamdulillah, we're in the place that we're in because of you know, what we do with our own lives and what our parents have done, and that's something that is all intertwined with sticking to your core, sticking to the people that are closest to you, and helping them out. And so it becomes a big full circle of good, of doing good, and landing you in a very positive place to help others. I'm going to move on to the next slide. Let me figure out, how do I do that? There we go. So the message becomes very clear. We can be very successful people on earth and get to Jannah by just being ourselves, just by being Muslims. It's a driver of success like none other, and it will lead us, inshallah, all if we do the best we can, if we have the right intentions, to Jannah, to heaven, inshallah. So I want you to say all with me, inshallah, whether it be in your hearts. If you wanna type it in, that's nice too. And I want to get to this now, sort of the questions, and then we can get to COVID-19 and presidential politics. So I have some questions for you guys first, and I want you guys to answer, inshallah. So how can we perfect our mind, body, and souls? Give examples of things that you're thinking about. And no answers was worse than the other, I promise. So feel comfortable saying whatever you think is a good answer for perfecting your mind, body, and soul.
So Ibrahim, just repeat the question, and folks can type it in, or they can raise their hand.
Sure. Okay. Let's write it in, I guess, if you want. Well, it's on the screen.
Okay, good. So write in
That's the first question. How can we perfect our mind, body, and soul's abilities? So if you guys want to write a specific specific example, tie it into which one is it? Is it for the mind? Is it for the body? Or is it for the soul? And so that we can tie it all in together. Okay, so I'm going to take some of these examples, and we can have a dialogue about them. Okay, so Sarah said in the beginning, first person to answer. They said yoga and music. What does yoga and music help to perfect? The mind, body, or the soul? Sarah can answer, or somebody else can answer. I don't mind. Okay. Okay, cool. Because yoga and music is shares, makes something happen in the soul that makes you feel better. depending on the type of music, of course. And it's for the body, for the yoga, because you're doing physical activity. Exactly. Okay. And then we had after yoga and music, there was another example, learning from Shafiq. Learning is, I think, pretty obvious for the mind. And that's really important. It's, again, it goes back to the first word in the Quran, which is iqra, which is read. And then we have Ahmad, kids, Omar mistakenly wrote salad. Well, salad is good for your body, but he meant to write Salah. And a few others also said Quran and Salah, which are very closely intertwined, of course. Prayer from Yasin, practicing our religion, which is also praying, and from Sarah as well, and Qaswara said Salah and meditate for the mind. So let's talk about Salah.
If I could real quick, I'm hearing the same answers from everybody.
So Salah, what does Salah do?
It covers all of that, and it gives you an added benefit of being able to connect with someone who we desperately need to connect. So please talk to that.
Sure. So that is exactly what I was going to get to. You guys are all answering the question on your own, and I'm happy that you guys have gotten to that place. So I do want to talk about Salah more specifically, and what we think. I know Dr. Chaudhry gave it off, but do you guys think it's more mind, body, or soul to commit to your Salah? So I see half and half answers. Some people saying all, and some people saying soul, or an answer that has soul. It's absolutely all of them. Salah has been proven to be, just as when we were talking about yoga, a physical form of perfection, of making your body better, and also because it connects our body to God. Which God is the creator of all things, but the most important thing that God has given us to influence the rest of our body parts is our soul, right? The soul being the central part to the mind, body, and soul combination. It is obviously, Salah is a very important thing for soul, but it's also very important for the mind as well, because what we're reading in our Salah is very mindful from the Quran. And remember that in the Quran, we go back to that example that we've been using, the first thing that first word and first action is read. And we said that reading enables us to get knowledge, and the knowledge empowers our minds. And there's nothing better to read than the Quran as well, because it engages so many different aspects of your life. And as Muslims, we obviously cherish that, and we love the Quran so much. And because it comes into how we were just talking about earlier a second ago, and I briefly mentioned it, the connection with the Quran and Salah. So you have to be able to intertwine the two together to actually have Salah to start with, or to have a proper usage of the Quran also. And so I think we answered that question really well. Great job, guys. Next question. How can we gain the best knowledge on what will most positively impact people's lives? What's the best way to gain knowledge about people's lives out there, and so that we can positively impact them? So I'm getting a lot of answers to Quran and Sunnah. Okay, so I'm specifically asking what in the Quran, because we were just kind of agreeing that the Quran is a guide for how we do things as Muslims today. That's the miracle of the Quran. The Quran lasts for eternity, and its ability to get us to understand what we are in today. So how do we understand people's lives in this very moment, what we're in today, in the year 2020? How do we understand that? How do we gain that best knowledge? Okay, so I'm gonna answer it, and it's by yes. So we got a good answer here. I thought that's a tough question, isn't it? By knowing them, by knowing their experiences. Yeah, Sabah, Yassine, technology can help us do that. Yes, coronavirus is the reality of today. That is definitely what's impacting people's lives the most right this very moment. Absolutely. So let's actually talk about this very moment, and that can actually connect into a little bit of the conversation about coronavirus. So, if we're talking about what's impacting people's lives right this very moment, we know it's coronavirus. Everybody's at home, stay away from people so that we actually save lives, right? You've seen stay home, save lives. You've seen that mantra these days. So what would our Prophet Sallallahu Muhammad, what would he be doing today if he was alive in the year 2020 and coronavirus was the topic of the hour, everybody was facing it? I want to see some guesses here. Let's see what we can get. I think the Prophet would do much more than make dua. Keep going though. Let's get some more answers. The Prophet would definitely pray because it's one of the tenets of being Muslim, for sure. But what beyond that? I don't think the Prophet. There we go. There we go. No, he would be fasting for sure. Yeah, but it'd be also different depending on the day. He might be fasting. He might not be fasting. If the Prophet had known how to be a lawyer, he would sue Donald Trump. Yeah, I mean, but I don't think the Prophet is a lawyer. He would ask people that are lawyers to sue him. Maybe the Prophet wasn't a doctor, but he'd probably ask doctors to do the best they can, and he would help them as much as he can, for sure. He would educate people. He would teach them what to do. I think that's the best answer that we're seeing right here. What can we do? The Prophet would be thinking about what can he do, and what can others do? What can he do as a leader of people to limit the spread of coronavirus, to stop it from killing people? Because the Prophet's mission at the end of the day was to save people's lives. He came as a messenger, of mercy to all mankind. That's like the number one thing that the Prophet would go for. Mercy to all mankind. Mercy is obviously health. So he'd be telling people to self-quarantine, to stay at home, to not touch things, to clean after themselves. He would be telling people to watch out for their neighbors and ask about their condition, ask about the condition of their families. He would be thinking about all the stuff that needs to happen to stop coronavirus from spreading. We can go on and on. You guys have heard it. And so this is how he would use the knowledge about today to do that. And in the process, he would be creating people that would believe in him more, that would be seeing him as more of a leader, right? People would look to him for guidance, and that would empower him as a Muslim and empower Muslims overall, and would make him a much more impactful person on people's lives in a very positive way. And we'd be serving that central goal, essential mission of mercy, of rahmah, on all people. And he would be using whatever avenue of leadership possible to do something that is so impactful and so good for people. And so, again, that was for me, was entering government and being elected and running for office and representing people and understanding them. For you, it might mean something else. The point is that you need to understand where you're most impactful, where you're most positively impactful on the realities of people at this very moment, to be the best Muslim you can, but also to be the most successful person you can. If you follow that path, you'll be able to find success on earth through professional life and through ability to get the resources that are necessary to most positively impact people, which obviously requires a lot of success in the day-to-days of people's lives, but also would gain you the success in the hereafter, which is getting to Jannah, inshallah, and living there for eternity, inshallah, after our time on earth. I guess that I don't know why the PowerPoint is not showing the full picture here. And so I guess we can tie this into a little bit. I think Dr. Chaudhry, I don't know if you want to jump in here for a little bit, but
No, I was going to help you troubleshoot. We can see the screen where it says, how can we? We're still on that slide.
Yeah, so I had a third question, but it's in the PowerPoint, the actual one. I don't know why it's not coming up over here.
Okay.
But I think we actually kind of answered that question. I did kind of skip that, or should I say added into the second question. But I was trying to ask is, and how can we find out what the most thing right this very moment is, and to help people's lives, that is. And we kind of talked about it by paying attention to the news, by paying attention to what people's lives are, by talking to them, by caring for them, by going back to that central kind of focus that our prophet always put us with. You take care of those closest to you. You look after them, and that starts with your nuclear family. It starts, then it goes to your extended family, your close friends, your neighbors, and then if you have, inshallah, you have and can grow your ability using your mind, body, and soul to be able to impact more people. And help more people, that would even be better and better to perfecting yourself as a Muslim. And that's what I try to do every single day in my own life. I'm going to talk a little bit about I think the last thing that we haven't talked about is sort of where we are in the state of Virginia as a reality to as it relates to COVID-19, as it relates to also what the president is doing. I see a lot of people posting, trying to hear about Trump and what's happening there. Look, I think that generally speaking right now, we're trying our very best to do something called flatten the curve. You might have heard of this before, which is we're trying to reach the point where we get to the peak of this problem so that after we understand what the peak is entirely, we can then cut it down. And how do we do that? Well, number one, we have to protect our doctors. We have to protect our healthcare professionals who are out there doing the work of curing people from this disease, getting rid of it. They need to be protected with personal protection equipment, personal protective equipment, PPE, as you might have heard of it. Our president right now is not doing the best he can on that. And we need you to advocate for that with your own words, with your neighbors, to make sure that we're doing our best to provide protection for our healthcare providers who are on the front lines. How do we do that? Well, we need to limit them to exposure. We need to stop touching things without any thinking. We can't be going out to places where there's a lot of people. If we go out, we have to go out for very specific things, inshallah. It all sounds draconian and sounds so annoying, but we have to do it. Literally staying at home saves lives, staying clean, washing your hands every single time you go out and come back in, every single time you touch a smooth surface, anything, controlling that. And so we need our president to do that. We also need our president to bring in, more specifically, equipment that can help people that have coronavirus in hospitals. We need more hospital beds. That's a big problem. So both the federal government and the state governments are trying to do that. I know on being on calls with the governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, that we're doing our best here to get as many resources from outside of the country and inside the country, specifically ventilators and masks, and trying to increase our ability to accept patients. Alhamdulillah, we have been controlling the situation. Our governor is a doctor by profession, and he's been keeping a very close eye on how the disease has been spreading and been treating it very surgically. And I've been keeping a very close eye on that to make sure that we are watching the situation very closely on the ground. I myself, of course, as a doctor, have been very involved in the decision-making thought process with the governor's office, trying to help them as much as possible, thinking about how to deal with the situation. And I can say confidently that they are thinking about it very strategically and using the resources very wisely. We had community spread, which is where a lot of people in one location get coronavirus in a couple of places in Virginia. And ever since we've taken it under control, that's specifically in the peninsula area of Virginia. So if you ever look at the map, kids, you'll see on the very far east coast of Virginia, there's a little peninsula. there was a little bit of spread of coronavirus there, but it was taken under control by the state government. And as well in the Tidewater region, specifically in the area of Hampton Roads, there was a community spread there, along with Virginia Beach. Those are areas of Virginia that unfortunately, due to economic circumstances and also due to discrimination, because there's a lot of, it's a majority Black people area, they get discriminated against in the world of healthcare. So they're more prone to disease spread. And I'm working very closely with the governor's office to make sure that those vulnerable groups of Virginians are taken care of as much as we can, that we need to protect them as well. But again, it also starts with us here in Northern Virginia. Let's not forget, because that's where we have the most density in Virginia. So we need to do our very best to stay away from others, to stop the spread of disease, because all these vulnerable communities in other places of Virginia rely on us at the end of the day. And you know, that's the best I can do right this very moment. To tie it back into everything, that's the best thing I can do as to being a Muslim, to acting as much as I can to save people's lives, to help people's lives. That's the best I can do with my position, my connection to this, to the people that are in power. And how did I get to that? Well, I started on the ground. I started talking to people and caring about them, and I ran for office and engaged with government. And alhamdulillah, I won with the support of my Muslim community, but also the broader American community that also wanted to see me help them. And I think hopefully that's an inspiring message for all of the people that are watching, to engage, to do the best they can, even the simplest way, which is to engage by keeping in touch with your elected officials, by voting, by encouraging people to vote, by paying attention to the news, by thinking about how you can say something with your tongue, you can act with your hands or do something as the Quran asks us to. And the second ask that the Quran has of us, which is to act, use our actions to help as many people as we can humanly possible with the mind, the body, and the soul that God has given us. And that's all that can be asked of you as a Muslim, inshallah. Dr. Chaudhry, I hope you know, we are all benefiting together in all of this, and the community at McLean Islamic Center is benefiting. And I want to extend a special thank you to you and all the body at McLean Islamic Center for putting together a youth group and bringing in our esteemed parents and community members together, and it's really greatly appreciated. And inshallah, we can grow some new people for office from the people that are listening. And of you young people, you should run one day.
Inshallah. Well, Dr. Ibrahim, it is a pleasure to have you on. It's always nice to see you at MIC and now at one of our virtual rooms here online. And you know, we thank you for taking time out of your schedule, because we know that you are extremely busy, to come and talk to us today. So it looks like we are ready to wrap up. And I want to thank everybody for joining the conversation today. So Jazakallah khair for joining, and inshallah we'll be back next week with our youth Halaqa next week. And between now and then, we have a lot of other programming online. So Jazakallah khair, thank you for joining, and we'll see you guys very soon. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum. Bye.
Wa alaikum.